Welcome everyone to I believe is episode 7 now of Inside Fnatic's Brush. Thank you for joining me again. We are starting today the new format. So as you guys voted and we spoke about in the last episode, I will be having a new guest every week now who will be with me from the start until the end, where we'll be talking about obviously the LEC, Fnatic, going over the same topic, but it'll also be a great opportunity to talk about you guys, what makes you Fnatic fans, what you like in Fnatic, talk about favorite players, favorite games, favorite moments. So yeah, this week we're starting with PluppyBlop as part of also the French Fnatic community. So if you could give him a warm applause welcome, I'm gonna unmute him and have him on board. Ploppy, you should. Oh, I have not unmuted him. I'm gonna try again.
I was muted
You
myself.
muted yourself.
Can
Awesome.
you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. I'm just gonna increase the volume on your side to make sure everyone can hear you. But yeah, welcome to this first edition of the new format. Thank you for participating as well. Really appreciate it.
Having
And
me.
yeah, let's just get you started. And maybe you can introduce yourself, why you're a Fnatic fan, how did you start being a Fnatic fan, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So I'm, Jesus, 22 years old now. Time flies. As for the Fnatic fan part, I guess I thought about it, and I think it was during Worlds 2013,
Mm-hmm.
the semifinals against Starhorn Royal Club. Um, and I had no idea Pro League existed before that.
Mm-hmm.
I randomly stumbled across this game somehow. I wanted to get involved in some way, and I just checked who was from EU West,
Right.
and it happened to be Fnatic. And afterwards, I kinda left it for like a year, and
Mm-hmm.
then the whole OMG game happened at Worlds 2014, and I guess I got hooked then.
Yeah. What an unfortunate game to get hooked on.
Yes, but I guess you get used to it afterwards.
Absolutely.
Everything else is less hurts less after. So yeah. Um, so that was the start. Then my favorite player has to be Yellow Star for the French pride, and also because he was there from the start
Mm-hmm.
when I started following the game. He was a great support, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
and even when he kind of stumbled a bit, he was less mechanically strong, but he stayed there in 2015 and built a great team that went even further than the one we all cried about for months.
Mm-hmm.
um, and also, I remember seeing his name often in the little high-elo ranked that
Mm-hmm.
we could have in the client before
That's
in
true.
the
Yeah.
back in the day, and he was one of the first ones I checked. I guess I remember his name from these ones even before I knew about Pro League. So yeah, that has to be Yellow Star for all those reasons and what
Awesome.
he represents. Yeah.
French power, yeah. What about SOAS though? Have you, since you have that
Yeah,
French side of you,
I
SOAS
mean,
have a part
it
of?
was the the choice I had to make. um, um, but yeah, Yellow Star struck to me a little more uh, because I saw him more of a team as a team leader, and he was really representing Fnatic at some
Mm-hmm.
point. While so as he was there during great times as well, and I love him as a player, but he has he had less of an aura as Yellow Star had. That Yellow Star had, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So how long have you been playing League of Legends?
Um, I think I played a little bit during alpha. I was a little kid, and
Wow.
a
Okay.
cousin showed me the game. I was utter shit. Obviously, I was like 8 or 9. Afterwards, I played a little bit, like when I was 14 or yeah, 14, 15, like for a year, and stopped again and got back at it like in a year later, something. So I guess I watched a little bit League League of Legends pro play before even playing. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's weird. Anyway, yeah, it's been a long ride. I kinda dozed down on the game because it's time consuming and it got frustrating not being as mechanically good as I thought I was all of a sudden. So yeah, but I keep playing from time to time.
Yeah.
ARAM player now.
Oh, ARM player. So you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have like a specific lane or champion that you like to play
No,
by.
I mean I play 5v5
Mm-hmm.
Summoner's Rift sometimes, and to cool my head, instead of playing AD carry like I had been for years,
Mm-hmm.
I play Kled top and
Okay.
smash people who don't know the champion in gold elo, and
Nice.
they hate me afterwards, and I'm the champion from 4 or 5 games probably.
So Kled is like your pocket pick then, and that's what I'm
Uh,
understanding. Yeah.
yeah, it's quite literally the only champion I play.
Okay.
Summoner's Rift now. It's so relaxing. Like he tells you to kill 10 people,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe the enemy team first, and like you hear him and you do that.
Yeah.
So it's
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 either you
not
int
not too
everyone or
hard.
you win the game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
cool. Cool. Well, thank you very much then for this little introduction. Obviously, since you're a Yellow Star fan, I was thinking, what's your opinion on like his last moments in Fnatic? So summer split of 2016, which was a
Uh,
difficult period. What's your
yeah.
opinion on that?
Well, he got to talk a little bit about it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't remember if it was in French or in English, but he said that he was completely burned out after 2015
Mm.
and hearing that Huni and Reignover were leaving, as well as Fabiven, I guess, in the process. No, not Fabiven. Not Fabiven. It was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. um, so it's more understandable now what happened to his end of career as a
Mm-hmm.
pro player for that moment. And yeah, it's unfortunate that he couldn't have the clear mind to say, I just gotta stop playing for a while. And I think it could have been a good uh, continuation of career if we had actually made a break and come back maybe after the 6 months instead of going to TSM
Mm.
and getting the NA treatment of sucking again. But who knows? Like, it's unfortunate for his career as a whole. But in the end, I think he's happy where he is now. So it's quite good as playing support again for LDLC in the French league, after being a coach, which suits him well as well. So if he's happy now, it's good for him. It was a very unfortunate moment, the 2016 year for Fnatic as a whole, and I guess he was a part of that in a way because he was seen as the returning Messi that would save the team, and it made quite the opposite even, in a way.
Yeah, that's
So
so true. I remember like, well, for me when I look back at it, it's so weird because I remember in 2016 I felt Yellow Star returning might have been the answer that we needed because he's done so much good for the team. And then thinking back, I was like, maybe if we kept Cly back at the time, who wasn't necessarily the biggest like support, he was actually improving really really well when there was still what's the name, IEM. I think it was IEM Katowice.
yeah, we went to
And yeah, we
finals
went to
against
finals
Fnatic.
and we beat some like Chinese team that had already Uzi and was it Mana or no? It was someone
Yeah,
else.
it was
Because it wasn't he wasn't in RNG yet. It was another team. I can't remember.
ADG maybe.
No, 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 no. It was some other one. I can't. Anyways, well, there was Uzi in that team, and they were like pretty good, obviously, and we managed to beat them. And Clyde was playing some godlike Alistar, so yeah.
And Reckless on Jin
And
while
Jane, yeah,
everyone
which
takes
was like the big
sucks.
new, yeah, yeah, yeah. Very
Yeah.
good point. Very good point. And then it's just like, oh, we're abandoning the Clyde project, and we're just going
Yeah.
back with Yellowstar. And I was like,
Which was what Reckless wanted.
yeah, that's
To
you know,
keep Clyde.
it's eventually what happens. It's like it's what Reckless wants. It's he plays it in the bot lane, and he's always had the selection of his supports, which thankfully also gave us Hilisign, and we can
Yeah.
be very grateful for that. But no, another point I thought, which was very interesting that you said, was that he still play. The guy is a father, by the way, and he still plays, and he
Yeah.
won EUM on a little like a garden
Yeah.
chair. Like I can't even
Yeah.
get
That's
out of
crazy.
gold on a shitty chair like the one that I have right now, and he's like on a
The
little
big
garden chair
was so
playing
crazy.
tournaments. So super impressive, super impressive.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Is there anything you want to add on Yellow Star Fnatic, anything before we move on to the rest of the segments?
Yeah, I mean, I chose also a favorite game or
Oh
something
yeah, yeah, yeah.
very
Tell me.
quickly. Um, the first thought I had was against AHQ at Worlds
Oh yeah,
2002.
yeah.
The comeback, HQ kind of throwing, but also Fabian one-shotting three people in
Mm-hmm.
one W ult or something. And I watched it back. I always come back to it like once a year, just for the feels of the French crowd screaming
Yeah.
all of a sudden, which we miss a lot right
Mm-hmm.
now. The
Mm-hmm.
crowds, I think it hurts not to get people screaming as hell when something crazy happens, and the Baron steal everything. Like it was a crazy game. But I guess the best one has to be the best of 5 in summer finals that same year against Origin. Uh, the Reckless Pentakill, the 5 games, the 5 disputed and balanced games. Like it was one of the best series I think Europe has had, maybe the best series. So yeah, the feels, the
Yeah.
feels and the hype.
For sure. Those are two very good games you've actually selected. The AHQ one, I believe this one almost was the one that decided if we were gonna make it out of groups as well, because we
If you were first or second, I
oh,
think
first or
it
second.
goes
Okay,
to.
okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Because it was during the sort of bruiser meta where Darius was absolutely busted, and of
Oh
of
yeah.
all people, fucking balls from C9
Got a
managed to
pentakill.
penta against us, and I was like, we're actually not gonna make it out. We played the. I think it's the first time that I also saw like we when we opened the first game of Worlds that year, and we played
Yeah.
against IG, which obviously wasn't the IG that we know in 2018 and today,
Yes. The
but
cow.
we
Yeah.
we smashed them so hard they FF'd.
Yeah.
They FF'd. Like I'm not sure if you can still, if you're still allowed to FF, because I know they changed the rules a couple years
I
ago.
mean, we FF'd against SKT in the
And yeah,
I
yeah, the next
finals
year.
in
Yeah, yeah,
2000s,
yeah. That's true. That's true.
but I don't. Well, I mean, you have no interest as a pro team to FF.
For
Like
sure.
you get everything, but yeah, that's true. That was.
It was so exciting because we were like whole, because like the time between the time where we go on that insane final, the Origin one, which is like we win, they win, we win, they win, and then the fifth game is like super super close until there's this stun in Raptor topside from Yellow Star onto Xpeke on his Azir. I can remember so
You have
clearly in
a
my mind. This
good memory.
it was so good. He frees him, and then we catch him, and then we end the game from that single play.
Crazy.
And it's like, oh my god, like these two teams are so strong. And between this and the first game against IG, it felt like we were in the anti-chamber, the time chamber in Dragon Ball Z. It's like we came in like full Super Saiyan, and we just smacked IG so hard they had to FF afterwards. It's like
Yeah.
we're gonna win Worlds. I mean, when we unfortunately didn't happen, but we looked really,
And
really
we
good.
could, in another day in the semifinals, we could have
Yeah,
made
yeah,
made it to the, well, at least made a competitive
yeah.
semifinal, I think.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Anyway,
But as you mentioned, there was a lot of burnout, and that was also confirmed by Daylor, our coach, who said he's
yes,
overworked their team. So, but what's happened
dealing
happened.
with Taylor as well.
Yeah,
In 2016, I think we had Yelsa coming back and Taylor leaving. Was
yeah. And we had
hard time.
to have bloody Nico de Pico. Anyways, that's a whole other argument there. I'm not gonna start talking about Nico, but
Yes, for
yeah,
another time maybe.
for sure. Anyways, let's actually transition into this
Yeah,
week's LEC games. For me, my big highlight has been Vitality, who scored a 2 week, surprisingly,
and
winning
right
against
again.
Schalke, I believe, and who else did they play against? Oh my god, I didn't prepare
It
this
was
properly.
Excel, no?
Excel, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah. So the win against Schalke was quite surprising because I thought Schalke was going to be back on an upward trend, but maybe Vitality is finally finding their footing here. Feels
No,
like
it was not good. It was SK.
it was SK. Oh yeah, so but it was both, wasn't it? Was it SK and Schalke?
It was
Oh
no,
no,
no.
it
It
was yeah,
was SK and
and
Excel.
Excel. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, so that's even better now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, and it all makes sense because thanks to
They play each other the next
Vitality.
week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good point. But yeah, Vitality winning against SK actually helps us
Yes,
comforting a fourth
getting fourth
spot.
maybe.
So we're not going to the losers bracket at least, which is good. But yeah, quite surprised by Is Vitality gonna do like how do you call it, miracle run?
Miracle run.
I don't know who they're facing
Have,
next week.
I don't know what their percentage is. Maybe like up to 8% or something.
Well, they're
Maybe.
facing Astralis on Friday. They're
Yeah,
facing Schalke on Saturday, and on Sunday,
it's Misfits.
Misfit. Those are three doable games. Like for me, I'd say they're hardest games against Misfits because Schalke is looking really bad so far, and
Schalke downward trend for sure.
against Astralis, who knows? Who knows what happens?
I mean, Astralis is already out of playoffs, right?
Hmm.
So they might do some crazy shit as well.
They just don't
Like
care anymore.
Zanzara shit show or Magic Flix Zanzara show. Anything can happen with
Yeah, I'm kind
end
of
of the
disappointed
year.
in Astralis. So, oh, that's the T-shirt
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to update you guys by the way. Those who were there last week or people who've seen it on YouTube. My bed still isn't mounted, so um, I was supposed to have it mounted like a week ago when they delivered it, but I guess there was some miscommunication between the delivery and so the delivery service and the shop where I bought the bed, and I tried to sort it out over the weekend. Called them back on Tuesday, and they were like, "Oh, we only have a sort of a mounting service available next Saturday." And I was like, "Next Saturday, like this week, or the next Saturday in the next week?" He's like, "No, next week." I'm like, of course, I'm gonna have to spend another week sleeping on the floor or on a shitty mattress that's not here; it's on the floor. But yeah, that was just a small story to update. But yeah, what I was gonna say is that I'm kind of disappointed in Astralis. They had like a sort of upward trend towards the middle of the split.
Yeah. They won 3 games.
They were winning games, and then Maggie Felix came in, and it was like, oh, finally they have like a really good mid laner, and then nothing.
Yeah, well, maybe I can talk about it because
Sure.
the game I chose was Astralis versus Misfits.
Okay.
Maybe not as hype as Vitality Miracle Run, but I think it's interesting to talk about them because they had a similar um, addition to their teams at the start of the year in Promiscu and Vander. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it might look like a bit of a stretch, but they are both very experienced supports, which would be expected to bring like experience and leadership and maybe shot calling with the new players they
Mm-hmm.
are surrounded by. And they took two very different ways in Probisque being utter shit in lane and all the stages of the game. Like, I can't even pick a play which he has done good in the last 2 weeks. Maybe even in lane, like he makes rookie mistakes, and the team looks disbanded. There is no real team synergy in Astralis, and on the other hand, Misfits obviously Vander has a bit of bigger pedigree, or you could say he has had better teams to work with and a higher ceiling as a player.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he has worked as a veteran in this Misfits team with more rookies, and uh, the way he has helped build the team, like with the Vithio Razork synergy he has talked about, which didn't look good at first, but they worked on it after he called it. Like he acts as a real team leader,
Mm-hmm.
and he still has it in him, like to be a very good support. The bot lane with Kobe is starting to grow real big. Like you could make an argument for it being top 3 in my opinion.
Okay.
As well as here it's popping off. Vithio obviously getting strong with the Razork synergy. So two similar teams, we could argue, at the start of the season, but now they are in very different places, and Misfits quietly, not quite making a perfect miracle run of going from 0-8, but it's been a quiet remontada from the start of the season, which was pretty rough for them, and now they might be in position to get into playoffs, and they look quite good. So uh, yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that's a very good point. And it's a very good game you've tried, and I really like the whole argument you've brought here because it's true. Like we I think a lot of people within the sort of mid split have already like given Misfits away as in they're done. They're definitely one of the like 4 teams that's not gonna make it to playoffs. Like there's already like a top 6 that's more or less done. And it feels like with Excel just completely dropping the ball, despite being like top. They were top 4, I believe, or top 5 at least at some point, and then they've just lost games. Like their early game just completely gone against them and it's cost them a lot of points. And in the meantime, it feels like
lately now.
Misfits improving, you know. So
And
um,
Schalke is fumbling as well.
Schalke, yeah, very good point. Like Schalke as well, they're doing like a reverse miracle run on their side, so that's quite disappointing because I thought Broken Blade was going to be a massive addition to Schalke, and I was like, oh, people are underestimating him. He's actually a very good mechanical player. He's a good laner as well, but he's not necessarily brought anything to the team, in my opinion. Abdage is not being Faker Dage recently.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
as well.
so all of that actually gives some space for Misfits, as if they're improving, then they can reach the ranks. And I was quite surprised by Viteo's. Was it Yone he played against Astralis? For me, like for most of the season, just like put him on Zoe, his comfort pick, and if you put him on anything else, then you're not gonna get any results. And actually, it's been the whole contrary with that pick. He's just smashed it really good during the team fight. Here it's just being slowly one of the like top 4, top 5 top laners for
He's
me.
giving solid Repo vibes. When he's on a carry champion, the man's gonna do damage, man.
Yeah, his Aatrox is a massive bully, and he's been. I mean, to be honest, like it'll be an interesting game because I know we face them next week, and I think it's the last game on Sunday where we face them. To see exactly, how
Mm.
much of a good matchup we're going into this. But
Yeah, it's on Saturday. Sunday is versus Rogue.
mm, Sunday is versus Rogue.
Yeah, it's Saturday against Misfits, but
Okay,
if you're
fair enough.
okay.
Fair enough. Okay, wow, that's gonna be a big Sunday then. I'm just
Big week.
realizing. I mean, it's a big for me. Like the last 5 games, like took how do you say? including the ones that we had today. For me, the biggest challenge were going to be SK and Rogue. SK is also kind of dropping the ball as well. They lost yesterday against
Yes.
Vitality. They, I mean, I think we played rather well against them, even though we kind of
But
entered on
draft.
the, yeah, the draft. Our draft was insane, and we'll talk about
SK's
that.
draft was very weird as well.
Yeah, it was all over the place. But going into next week, now I'm getting kind of scared of Misfits because we lost against them initially, and I hope we play as clean as we did today. And then
Yeah.
going into Rogue, I mean, we'll see what happens. But Misfits definitely, like, they're being a bit of a dark horse. I hope we can actually see them in playoffs. It would be nice, and see what they can do. They'll probably be in the bottom part, so in the losers bracket, but making it to playoffs, that's already pretty big. So we'll see what they can do. And who else? So right now so we have Rogue, the G2, Rogue, Mad Lions, us, SK, and Misfits, right? And maybe
Yeah.
there's some
And Schalke
space.
tied with
Yeah.
Misfits,
So
and it's Excel,
yeah,
one win away, and Vitality and Astralis.
yeah. So Astralis is dead last. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, damn, damn. What a shame.
Mhm.
Maybe they can build something better, but I mean, it's a shame because they started getting a couple of wins. They weren't last, and people weren't memeing him as much as like, hey, this is a dead last team just from their players. But
Yeah.
now they're just going into that sort of stereotype of like, yeah, you've got discount players, not even the best from EUM. So.
And it's a shame because White Knight is doing his job. Like he's
Mhm.
doing a good job since the start of the split. Magic Felix coming in had solid performances, bringing a lot of pressure on him.
Mhm.
But Zanzara as well with his special picks and having some off games, but usually pretty impactful on the
Mhm.
game, I guess. But the bot lane Promiscu just collabing, you don't even know if it's held back by Promiscu
Mm.
or if it's just bad. Like in the Misfits game, 2 times he tried to 1v1 Kobe for no reason and flashed away one time and died the other time in the
Oh
exact
yeah,
same place, the exact same play. Like he literally backed and went for the same thing again. Uh, I don't know. I mean, he's a rookie, so can't really blame him for trying things. But I don't know. It's a shame, really. I hope they change things for next split at least.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see if there's any like actual roster changes within Astralis because for me, in my mind, this original team shows that Astralis as an organization doesn't necessarily want to invest too much in like good players or less, at least like one pillar player, and then build around it. Like they completely revamped. Like even if you want to make the argument that Nuke Duck was the pillar player, I feel like Nuke Duck has not been at his top level for the past 3 seasons now. So I don't know. Really, I mean, from the get go, Astralis drafting some really weird players, and then it's just not working out. They're not even that competitive. They won a couple of games, but it wasn't even like against necessarily like top teams. If like Schalke is more of a spoiler team than Astralis has been, so I don't know. We'll see if that warrants some changes. Definitely something new in the bot lane could make them a bit more interesting, but I think so far it's it's not looking good, and I don't know if they can necessarily go pick someone within the ERL, the European Regional League, to make a transition already, like in the middle of the split, into LEC. I don't think that would necessarily be fair to these kind of players who are playing their season, who are trying to qualify for EUM. So they might have to go towards some, I don't know, not necessarily veteran player, but at least some confirmed players. But from the top of my mind, I can't see who really is available. Maybe Crenshaw would have been interesting, but he's already taken by Vitality. So yeah, it's an awkward situation I think for Astralis, and they'll probably play the season out like this, and we'll see what happens in 2022.
Get Nemesis support, man.
Nemesis support, yeah, Jesus. I mean, when you know Nemesis didn't want to play with any European teams, he's definitely not going to be in the Astralis projects.
Yes.
For sure. Well, I think this is a good time for us to actually talk about our favorite team now. Let's talk about Fnatic.
Okay.
Amazing 2 week after, I'd say, the past 2 weeks, which weren't too great. We went 1-3. We're finally back to winning ways. Finally back to a 2 a week. We played both SK and XL. XL was a bit of a, it was a fiesta and not a fiesta game at the same time. Like the ending was really weird. Like they went for a base race. We had globals. We could interrupt them.
I mean, the weird part was that they went for the base race first. Like,
I know.
it was literally like, maybe we can't FF anymore, so they tried a different way of surrendering without pressing the button. Uh, very weird ending as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. But the biggest highlight of this game, also the SK game, but I think the biggest change was the way Bwipo played.
Mhm.
Pretty quietly from the casting standpoint, you would say, like, no flashy plays
Mhm.
in the lane, and he didn't have the pick for that, but he's known for trying this stuff even if he shouldn't be able to.
Mhm.
And he's been playing smooth as hell for the 2 games, man. That Gangplank, obliterating the backline, perfect pick into the XL comp, and makes a difference. Like, Self-Made always ahead and literally making the game 4v5 by denying half of the enemy jungler, and bot lane winning even with Thena Tamkench for some reason, and Niski Zoe for the first time as well. So yeah, convincing win, I'd say. Even when we int, it's for no reason to int, obviously, but we don't lose anything from it. So yeah,
Yeah,
convincing change of strategy, I'd say.
for sure.
I don't know if it's a knife we have in the pocket to change our style in a best of 5, maybe, or if it's the style we are going towards as a unique thing. I don't know, but that was very pleasant to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of valuable information you've just brought in. The first one, like to come back on, is what you said about Bwipo. Rightfully you said that he tries to really win that 1v1 instead of just trying to keep it even. And when he's still able to be present in the game, play his lane correctly, and not go for maybe high risk, high reward, but also low reward at the same time, he's still able to have a good impact onto the game. And his gangplank was super valuable here. Self-made, I believe, like got caught in around the Raptors. Was it this game? Yeah, I believe so. And
Yeah.
he still was super far ahead, against Dan in terms of CS. His pathing was really good, really impactful on his Graves, and it's nice to see him win again on Graves as well. I was also pleasantly surprised that we played Senna Kench. I wasn't sure if it was necessarily something we were able to play. Obviously, have Upset has been prioed on Kaisa quite a bit, and like although I do enjoy him seeing on picks like Kaisa, I'd like to see him in a like wider variety of ADCs. So for me, seeing Senna is very good, and he's had amazing performance on her, even despite the bad start where he had to use his heal or his flash, and it looked
He
kind
left
yeah,
level 1. Yeah.
and it looked kind of doomed for the laning phase. Thank God it was just fasting Senna, so the whole thing was on Hillisang. It didn't have too much impact, but yeah, and Niski just being absolutely insane on his Zoe, just hitting some bubbles, and his paddle stars were really accurate as well. Even like drafting it around some minions, I was so impressed. But yeah, super solid game. The early game was kind of all over the place, but I think we controlled like most of it. We took all the dragons. We got Baron, 8 towers, and yeah, I mean, we rushed it towards the base, and I guess that was it. So, Excel still like kind of struggling. The how do you call it? The casters were going crazy because they had a bit of a lead against us in the early game when they usually don't have it, but they weren't able to do anything from it. Selfmade just controlling the map, controlling the objectives, and yeah, solid win, convincing win. And then we go into the SK game, which for me was like even better in some sense than the Excel. I felt we were like even more in control. Obviously, we had upset back on his Kaisa going absolutely berserk. If I'm pulling up his I mean, obviously KDA isn't everything, but still for an AD carry, you kind of want to look at those numbers. 10, 1, and 2. Okay, upset having an MVP performance this weekend. Bwipo and the Renekton being absolutely scary during team fights. Happy that we pulled out the Talia again. Wasn't sure if if that was still valuable. I've seen it in the LPL and LCK in some scenarios, and apparently it's pretty good against Graves, and also for the map presence, which combined with Niski's Twisted Fate, you can just 4-man group anywhere. So yeah, again, a very strong performance. Hilly sang on Rel. Rel, I'm so surprised Rel wasn't banned, actually. Um,
Yeah, the draft was very weird from SK. Like we got Talia, Rel, and Kaisa first rotation.
mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to do to do that. Like give Rel to Hylissang and Kaisa and like I don't know. Like the win was convincing, but we will never get a draft like this again. Like we shouldn't be at least.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised by the fact that they didn't keep, how do you call it, Tristana in the mid lane, because that would have been a good counter against Twisted Fate, some range, and also to just push into the mid lane and just obliterate turrets as well. She's like one of the best champions to do this. And instead, they put Rise, which is like slow scaling. I'm guessing they tried to match Twisted Fate's like mobility across the map, but I mean, Rise needs more of like a setup for him to do his like portal, whereas Twisted Fate is much faster in terms of execution. So, and I think in terms of range, obviously Twisted Fate is much larger as well. So I don't know. Even the Gen X's Scion was like, I've seen some Scions on the past weeks where after like one or two items they're just undestructible. Like you can't touch them. They just tank, 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 and tank, and that's it. And for him, it's just like nope. He gets shredded by upset and by
I
self-made
mean,
as
he
well.
didn't get the chance to get to that point to like Bwipo proxying like 3 or 4 waves in a row with Ray.
Yeah. I'm so happy by Bwipo's performance. I was kind of sad
Yeah,
with what he did, just dying in lane and getting 1v1 by top laners, which, in my opinion, are supposed to be like not as good as he is mechanically and also in terms of lane management and trades. So I don't know. I'm kind of hopeful for next week as well. Obviously, we're going against what did I say? Is it Schalke on Friday,
yeah.
Misfits.
Misfits and Rogue.
Yeah. That's gonna be some interesting games for sure. I mean, it's a super week as well, so um, yeah, I don't know. I hope we have because apparently, so if we were listening to Dardo, what he was saying last Sunday is that they started to get some better practice and better comps, and they were working really hard to get some better results as well, and it seems to have showed on the more controlled games. Obviously, you can say that Excel and I mean Excel obviously not much of a competition. SK I was hoping, would be a bit better because they were really on an upward trend and they look like a solid like top four team. And they just went 0-2 this week. They lost against Vitality. They lost pretty hard against us. And even if we like kind of entered it on the bot side of our jungle, where we got kind of caught, I mean, it didn't it didn't seem like it mattered afterward. I think,
Yeah, they didn't get anything back from it. It was a no objective fight,
yeah,
so
they got a bunch of
I
gold,
guess
but that's
Haley
it.
just got rid of the int, yeah.
Pretty much, pretty much. And they didn't even get like a single tower. They only got one dragon, and that was it. So that's also really good, to be honest. That's a point I'd like to put forward is the fact that we had so much map presence that they couldn't even like
Yeah.
try to counter it. And even our bot turret, which I believe was the weakest one, they didn't even manage to bring it down, despite having a Tristana, which is supposed to be kind of a demolisher pick. So
Yeah, that I thought about the week as well. Like if you had to check two big points of this week's games, it would be the map control and domination we had on both games,
mhm.
and also the full team synergy, because you could see that in the first game, many globals, very good communication, instant reactions to TPs, etc. And the second game, Niski with old scene, stun with gold card, and you could see upset flying everywhere with old ults to finish the job. Like, it was a very big leap forward in that regard. I would say, at least on stage, the stage game we saw. Obviously, they were already on the same page, but they didn't have this big synergy, like instant synergy. The You don't even have to talk to know what the other wants to do synergy type, and that was obviously pleasant to see, but it's also a very good indicator of what form we are going to come in for playoffs afterwards, and in the next week, but also for playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, it's also a good sign that we're more macro focused. And even though we try to fight, we still try to think about what presence we want to have on the map and what we're trying to impact. Because I think that was also our downfall against, maybe G2 and some other teams on the previous week, is that we were too much fight focused, too much on the micro, and we completely left the macro on the side, and it just cost us in the end, because even if the other teams were losing the team fight, they had better map pressure, and in the end they got those advantages, and it only took one bad fight for them to come back on top. So I hope that we see more macro focused game against next week, that we stay as clean, that we keep having Bwipo, who's more controlled but still participates in the team fights when he needs to. And I think we can be like, I don't know if we can necessarily say challenge Rogue next week, but at least put up a good game. And for me, I would say the ultimate kind of I don't know, qualifier of our improvement would be that if we beat Rogue next week and we do it properly, we can definitely go into best of five with not only a wide range of playstyles, but also with a champ pool, which I believe for once in a very long time has never been as large as it's been right now. Like, um, Niski is willing to play anything. Obviously, Self-Made has a very qualified pool of junglers. He's able to play both AP and AD. He's got his Lilia, his Talia, his Graves, his Hecarim. I don't know if we've seen him on. I think he's played like maybe one game of Olaf. I'm not sure, but
Smash it. It's like the three Polish junglers played Olaf and
yeah.
went 10-0 or something.
So that's definitely a massive point to put in that regard. And then obviously, Bwipo. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure what the meta's going to bring in, but I'm sure he's able to play his Scion like he did back in 2018, which was like the pick we put him on the finals, just like play Scion and then just run at people during team fights, and he's pretty decent on it. So we can see if we maybe have him next week, if the drafts obviously call for a Scion pick. and prepare that going into playoffs. I think, if I'm not mistaken, next week we're going into 11.5. Do you know by any chance, or anyone from
I
the?
don't know.
Because I think we're in 11.5 in what do you call it, in league right now. But I believe there's always like um Viego's still locked. Yeah, because he's just filled with bugs. So, but I believe in terms of patches will be 11.5. Although I don't think 11.5 is that much of a change. I can't remember exactly what's being nerfed or what's being buffed. But I know in terms of junglers, it's pretty much the same. So
Not much map changes.
no, no, no. I don't know if there's yeah, it comes with the big Manamune buff. Okay, small adjustments here and there. Oh, Manamune. So okay, so maybe we see stuff like
Ezreal.
Varus, Ezreal, Varus maybe,
Hmm.
Corki, Corki and Azir. Hooray! Didn't we completely uh miss that duo in the mid lane? But yeah, well, I believe it's 11.5. I think you can check it on gameoflegends.gg. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we'll see. But some exciting games next week. Final week of LEC. I think it's confirmed that we locked in into playoffs, right? Or not sure. I think we need
Uh,
one more win, right?
yeah, one win
Yeah,
more
yeah,
and we are locked.
yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, next week we lock in playoffs. Then is there like a week or 2 week gap between? I think it's only a week gap, right? I'm not sure. I look so unprepared for this podcast. I'm very, very sorry. But yeah, at least there'll be some time to prepare until we go into next week games. Um, quick point maybe I'd like to do before we go into the next part is that obviously, since we'll probably end up top four, G2 will have selection of their opponent. Definitely, they won't be having Rogue against them. It'll be either us or Mad Lions. Historically, when G2 has ended first, they've never chose us as their first opponent. I don't think they've ever had. Now that we have a new team, where we don't have guys like Reckless and things like this who usually pop off during playoffs, do you think that G2 would be looking into picking Fnatic as their first opponent going into playoffs?
I mean, we already have had surprises regarding picks for playoffs. I can't remember which team it was, but I think G2 picked Rogue or something like that, and everyone was surprised because I don't remember if it was Rogue, but they were considered the better team regarding the standings
Mm-hmm.
and the recent form, but just the fact that they were so one-dimensional at the time made them the better choice for G2. So I don't think Rogue is in the same place right now,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, than they were before, but I guess Mad Lions would be the best choice ahead of us regarding recent performances. Obviously, next week we'll decide a lot of that as well. Like, if we continue this form, maybe we look more scary than, like, scarier than Mad. If we continue this trend and Mad
Mm-hmm.
still picks the Ari mid for no obvious reason. So yeah, I guess it will depend on, like Talion said in the chat, the scrims and the matchup of the team styles. Kind of like when G2 beat RNG in quarterfinals because they didn't have better players, but their team matchup was very good, and then
Mm-hmm.
they got smashed by IG, which looks arguably a little less strong than RNG at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I think we are second. Rogue is kind of out of the picture. But I would
Yeah.
say they pick Mad. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, Italian brings in a good point. Is that second place actually is safe from the
Oh
G2
yeah,
pick, so it's going to be between Mad and us.
Mad.
But in any case, that still means that obviously if we end third or fourth, we're still going to go in the best of 5 against Rogue, and that's still a very scary team. Obviously, as we go into the best of 1 against them next week, we'll have to see what type of performance we're showing, and they'll probably give us a first taste of what's going to happen. If we win against Rogue on the best of 5, that would be quite impressive, to be honest, because Rogue looks super, super scary. And yeah.
I mean, they had a rough week, but
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, true. Yeah.
I mean, they played G2 and Mad, which are arguably
Yeah.
top 4 each, but they got smashed by G2,
Yeah.
especially in early game, which is our big strength,
Mhm.
arguably, which has been until this week at least. And then against Mad Lions, weird game, very long, lots of mistakes. So
True.
we'll see next week, I guess, for every team. Even Mad Lion hasn't been very consistent, so next week will be a good highlight of how will playoffs go, and maybe explain some of the choices the teams will make in picking their opponent. Yeah.
Sure. And I think that sets a perfect transition for us to go into next week's prediction. So actually, first we'll have a quick look at last week's predictions. So I've actually, is it not open? Nah, there we go. I have to do this little operation. There we go. Boom. So what now constitutes as the how do you call it, the community votes will now be represented by the week's guests. So the guest represents the community. Obviously, for this first episode, I've used Pluppy's selection. So,
Sorry, guys.
you only have to blame him for it. But what happens is that so on week 7, day 1, pretty much the same except for Schalke and for Rogue. So why did you think Schalke was going to win against Ma? Did you get an epiphany somewhere?
Like I believed maybe they would come back from their wrath, but because it had been a long time since they won a convincing game. And I mean, it's a little bit like the Rogue choice, like it was how do you say, I tried. I tried to flex.
Try to get that advantage of going against the trend. Exactly. I see what it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, the Schalke one was maybe not the. I prefer the Rogue one, which is bolder, but maybe a little more close even than Mad Schalke.
All right, then in that case, let's see what you predicted for the day after. Okay. Whoa, you done some spicy picks here. So you voted for Excel. I mean, Vitality Excel, I can give it to you, but the Astralis against Schalke. That's an interesting vote here.
I guess that's why I was mad against Promise Q.
The guy hinted the lane that game like crazy. Like even Schalke beats Astralis this week. So sorry for
run it down again.
Yeah, I think that was my worst week out of the ones I didn't play in. So
don't worry, it happens to the best of us.
Bad. Yeah.
Anyways, let's have a quick look at next week's prediction. Then we have for day 1, pretty much the same.
I don't know what happened with what I sent you, but
yeah, those are the votes right in there.
Yeah, the sheet is bad.
I think I mixed day 2 and day 3 in terms of like game order. So, but in any case, it's during the same day, the same games. But yeah, same votes here. I agree overall. Vitality definitely looks like they can take on Schalke. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. G2, Rogue, SK, obviously Fnatic.
Fnatic, yeah.
Going into day 2, which would actually be day 3, therefore. Same picks, except I know I've betrayed Fnatic. I'm not sure if they're ready for Rogue yet. I'm hoping they win, but I don't know. Rogue just, I mean, despite their losses, despite their loss against G2, but their win against Mad Lions, which was very close, they were still able to come back. So we'll see if we're able to win against Rogue. I'll be very happy, of course, and I don't care if I lose points. And then going obviously into the last day. Let me see. Boom.
Which Monday, I guess. Yeah.
Last day. Okay,
Yeah.
the SK and Misfits pick. I'm interested in knowing what's going on here.
Well, for the Misfits Mad first, which is the easiest to answer. I've been a Misfits and SK, well, the other one as well. Misfits and SK hype train before the hype train existed, I guess.
Okay.
Like at the start of the season, I liked their players because I watched some French league and they have some French league issued player. So I followed them, and I think Mad could have a bad game, and Misfits looked pretty strong lately. So it's not that far of a stretch, in my opinion. Obviously, it's not maybe the first choice, but I think it could be close. Like for the SK Rogue thing, I always put this like counter current thing, I guess, to try and get the extra points if something happens. And SK has looked pretty bad this week, and these picks were before we saw the games this week. So maybe I wouldn't have done that this way after seeing the games yesterday and the day before. But I think I'm gonna keep that way and hope for a little bit of a rogue choke like they got against Mad Lions, and hope for SK to end the game quick like they are good to they are known to do pretty well, even playing from a little bit behind and getting a good team fight out of nowhere. So the future will tell if I'm a bronze predictor or big brain.
For sure. Well, thank you for your picks. At least they for sure throw the debate of trying to go against the trend, and let's see if I hope it works out for you. You know, you're representing the community at least for this week and the next one. So listen, I don't know if you have any last words that you'd like to add, Ploppy.
Well, thanks for having me first. It's a pleasure. A little bit of pressure, but it turned out well, I hope. And yeah, always Fnatic, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for wanting to participate and being the first guy to kind of cut the opening rope for this new format. Great insights, really great conversation. And yeah, for anyone who'd like to participate, there's a link in the community podcast chat. I'm happy to have obviously anyone in. If you don't need a camera, you just need to speak. Look a bit, obviously the LEC games, have a few opinions. There's no wrong opinion. We're just here to have a cool discussion, get to know you a bit more. So yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone who's watching on YouTube. See you next week for the last week of LEC. And yeah, always Fnatic. See you guys.
Subscribe
To my YouTube channel.